And I guess my role in this dialogue is just to be a facilitator. So
Sorry.
I'm not a moderator. Gesundheit, bless you too. Saúde. I'm not a moderator, so I won't be kind of throwing questions to people. I'm just here to make sure that there's like a flow and that everybody feels listened to and heard, and that we kind of keep those sort of let's say like loose rules of this form of engagement. So this is a dialogue, it's not a conversation. So the point of this is that we bring our own experiences and perspectives to the table, and everybody gives everybody else a chance to listen, to be listened to, and also to be heard, and also to share. So just keeping that in mind, being mindful of the fact that we only have 1 hour today, and giving everybody some space to be able to talk. If you feel like you talked a lot, then just kind of be mindful of that, and throw the room out to other people. But also, we want to hear what you have to say, because I'm sure there's lots of really interesting perspectives as well. So yeah, so don't be shy, but just be mindful. So to open today, so the way that we also throw the word around is you can make up your own gesture. So just to be clear, when you've started and when you've finished talking, you can make up a gesture. So you can grab the word, take it, and then when you're finished, you can throw it back. And it can be whatever gesture you like. It doesn't have to be the one that I did, but you can make up your own gesture just to show that you're then taking the word. Also to say that silence is okay, so we can be happy to sit in the maybe slight discomfort of being silent in the digital space. That we're also going to be live, so there'll be people watching, but it's also okay to not have words if we don't want to have them. And it's also okay to break the silence when you want to. So our dialogue today is the topic, or the provocation is how to lay the table in a digital rush, and on modern rituals. And I guess I wanted to open. Oh yeah, we also should, or not should, but we are kind of. It's suggested to open the practice together with a sound. And I thought maybe we could, because I'm coming from a practice of more like experimental performance, as kind of one of the limbs of where I'm working, is if we could open together with a sounding practice. So also coming into the body. So maybe if I just guide everybody through, and we take part together to open the practice, and then we can be engaging in the dialogue. Does that feel okay for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so just close your eyes down and just take a minute to notice yourself and your body where you are. For me, it's the morning. I'm in Brazil. So just being in your body, whatever point of day you're at. Take a big breath in all the way to the bottom of the lungs. And a long breath all the way out. You can let out an audible sigh if you like. And just imagining something that you enjoy. It can be a food, it can be a movement, it can be any kind of pleasure that you enjoy. And imagine experiencing that in your body, taking it in as a way to feed yourself. And I think it's a nice way to try to manifest that into a sound. And we can open the practice with the manifestation of our joy of feeding our body with whatever pleasure. And breathing in together. Manifesting the sound. And then slowly opening the eyes and coming into the session together. Thank you for that. Yeah, so I guess first provocation could be just taking from the question, how to lay the table in a digital rush. What rituals do you have around eating and around being together with people at the moment?
Okay, I can start. At the very first, I was very interested in these practices of food exhibitions and food in arts, and wanting to be a part. I was given this task and to participate, but personally, I'm not a person of loving digital rush and any kind of digitals around me. I represent a poor theatre and empty space, this kind of arts and the theatre. And I'm personally against digital and using digital in arts, in theatre arts. And connecting digital with food, digital as a way of lifestyle. Also, I try to separate those things and keep table and around the table without any kind of digital apart from the radio. And the lifestyle, well, we are connected to the digital, but as I said, I really try to separate it and not involve as little as possible as it is necessary, and not to be depending on this digital rush, which digital putting on us this rush. So I am interested in the young generation, because young generation, I think, has different relation to digital, and I'm interested of your life with this digital rush, speed, and the table, and the food on the table. So I'm quite traditional as food, and just ending up laying the sets on the table. It's very important for me, traditionally. I had, before my artistic education, I graduated from the College of Nutrition, 4 years. It was high school. And since I really try to have this connection, but traditional connection, and not to speed at the time of food and of eating, not to eat outside as much as in, and still cultivate this cooking and eating indoors at the home with different people, or even if I am on my own, to keep this tradition and this simple food at home. This much. But sorry, I'm preparing the theatre performance about the herring, and actually that was the main reason I really started to be interested in that project and program on connecting food with art. The herring as a heritage also. The herring is known to everybody, and probably soon it will disappear from our table food. Sorry if I talk too much, but that's as an introduction from my generation. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Boom.
Exactly.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Joey, and thank you so much, Natalie, for facilitating this session. It's 7 o'clock here, where I'm in Singapore, and I just had my dinner before attending this program before logging in, and I was eating in a bowl and sitting on the floor and watching television. And because I'm a writer, I have this tendency to break things into semantics and context and whatnot. So when I was reading the question, how do we lay the table in a digital setting, I was thinking of the table as a metaphorical expression as well as a literal one. And I was thinking that so much of what laying the table means, as much as what we are bringing now to the metaphorical tables, imagining that all of us are here right now, and we have a table in front of us. Like the act of laying a table, we bring with us certain rules or facilitation rules, ground rules, how we would have to abide by certain conventions at the dining table. Is the same thing that we have to as well, in order to make sure that everyone has an enjoyable meal or an enjoyable discussion. So that was how I saw it, and also because it's quite ritualistic. The laying of the table. It's also quite similar to what's happening now before a Zoom session. So, for instance, we were getting this meeting invites. Okay, this is what is going to happen. And it's going to happen at what time, and even the PDF document that was sent to us. It's kind of like you are being invited to somebody's place that you've never been to before. It could be in a faraway location, and as much as possible, you want to respect the host. The host wants to respect you, and then we bring with us all these sort of recommendations that will allow us to have a fruitful discussion, a fruitful meal in that sense. Yeah, that's it for me. Okay, you can have it.
I don't know, Nohan, you also wanted to say something, right?
I can start. I'm a visual artist, and I'm currently researching the theme of collectivity. And I'm interested. I'm always having the question of how people can get together in spite of the digital distractions, and I always question how does it affect our collectivity, or how we are eating together or preparing food together. And I think personally the TV is the big distractor to our meal consumption. I think it's like an additional family member since the 70s until now. It is always invited, and sometimes it is the decision maker to when do we eat. For example, if the TV series is aired at 7, we're going to eat at 7 because we want to eat while watching this TV show. And also the placement of the TV. If the TV is in the living room, we're going to eat in the living room. If it is in the bedroom, we're going to eat in the bedroom. So for me, the TV is a big influencer. Add to it the mobile phone and how we are always connected on the phone while eating together. But as a family or in the domestic sphere, I think the TV plays a very important role, especially that people like to watch sitcoms, for example, that is 20 minutes, like Friends or Family Guy or such series, because it has the same time of the meal. So, yeah.
I just come, I'm in Switzerland right now, and I smell onions. I was frying onions just before arriving to this conversation, to this dialogue. And I was in a very physical rush at that moment because all the family members already arrived, and my mother and I were just making the final steps of the meal. And then I interrupted the cooking part to be here with you guys, and So what came to my mind just before when Yolanta started with her view on setting or laying the table is that I'm a photographer and I have lots of troubles to keep, memories or it is maybe not the right formulation, but when I see a meal, I always have the wish to, somehow take a picture or make it, keep it for eternity. And I feel like this is so much interrupting also the joy of just being at this table. It's the phone and the wish to immortalize this moment. Sometimes it's stronger than the moment of just enjoying this meal together with the person you're at the table, or sometimes also alone. So for me, the phone is a big distractor, and still it's also a way to remember what we've cooked and what we've liked, because sometimes I just make something spontaneously and 2 weeks later I want to try it out again and I don't remember exactly what I made and how I mixed the ingredients. So it's something, it's like a help to memorize things, but there would also be other possibilities instead of just taking a picture with your phone. So maybe that's something to explore.
Yes. Something about what you just said reminded me of like every time there's an amazing moon, like a full moon or super moon or something, I'm outside and I'm like, oh, I just want to take a photo of it. And I always try, and you can never like quite capture the moon, especially on a iPhone camera. And I really respect like the wishes of the moon to not be captured on one of those cameras. It's really like, no way, you can't catch me. Just like observe, be present, look at me. And that's what it's actually about, because everybody has the privilege of, actually not everybody, but like more often than not, it's something that's pretty universal. You can go outside and look up and see the moon, and that's something that you can be still with, absorb the energy of. Like, it can be essentially a pretty democratic kind of action to just observe the moon. And I like the idea of things not being capturable in a digital sense. Like, as part of my practice, I'm also interested in, I also do socially engaged art practices, and I started hosting a few dinner parties before COVID with around 40 people. And it was interesting because it sort of transitioned. I only did 3, actually. I was hoping to do more, but it hasn't been possible. But yeah, originally I was planning on like being the host and doing everything all together. And then a few people from the first one came to the next one. And on the first one, everybody ended up eating quite late because it was quite a big thing to cook for 40 people, just one person making all of this food and preparing, and I was enjoying it. And I didn't realize like actually how hard that would be to like get everything done on time. And then at the next one, some of the people that had been there before were like, okay, what can I do this time? So like by the third one, like we started eating a little bit earlier, and it became like a bit more of a everybody just jumped in and did things, and I brought ingredients and people sort of made their own interpretations up of what to make for the ingredients. So it was a bit more of a communal meal in the end. And I think that was also like a process of kind of like slowing down, and instead of me imagining like that people would come and be able to socialize with people that they didn't necessarily like meet before, or maybe wouldn't have crossed paths with in life otherwise. That was kind of the idea of the dinner party, that we sort of came away from like just being there in a social sense and more being there in a collaborative sense. And how do you like make meals together? How do you bring different things together from your experience of growing up with food? Like what was that like from different cultural perspectives, different ways of chopping vegetables. Yeah, I really think like it's an interesting way to be together with strangers. You can learn a lot about people just like being in a kitchen together, you know.
Okay. Yes, I would like to maybe emphasize also the quality, the phenomena of sensuality, the senses, the taste, the color. So you concentrate. You have the whole time of identification with the nature, me and my senses with this food. So how much joy is in this research, or you know what I mean? It's not only, it's not, it is not comparable to watching any TV at that time, because the value, the quality of tasting is very unique. It's like meditation as well, or cooking is like meditation, slowing the time, blah blah, and learning new. Even we do traditional way. Every time it is something new, because the products also change the tastes. Particularly nowadays, the products, this beetroot is not the same beetroot which was cultivated 20 or 40 years ago, and depends where it is cultivated, in Caucasia or in Europe. It tastes different. Anyway, yes, I wanted to, from my also theatrical background, where I work with senses, this eating and the whole ritual of eating, or of having this table, sitting at the table and then having this dish, what this dish will give me, how enriched will I be after or during eating. This is the whole ritual also, preparing, but the sitting and tasting. Well,
I want to share an opinion when we talked about photographing food. I think also it influences the aesthetics of the plate, because we care so much about how the meal will look like. It doesn't look sometimes like how like on regular days I would put the rice on vegetables and like that, and I eat it. But because I'm going to take a photo of it, I have to decorate in a certain way, and then it became a habit that I always eat in a good looking dish, and this of course affected how I eat and affected my manner or of always eating good looking food. This is a point. And about the manner of the table, I was reading an article. It was very old. It was 1940s article in a magazine that is giving advice about the table, that the etiquette on the table and how table should be prepared, and it was focusing so much on what is the color of the tablecloths, and that we have to put flowers on the table, because in the morning we want to encourage the family to eat breakfast together. So we put flowers to increase the appetite of the family to eat. So there was a lot of tension and a lot of focus on the etiquette of the table. Now I doubt that it exists. Now there is I don't find such articles in magazines, or it's nobody cares about the table, the dinner table. Also, in modern houses, people eat in the kitchen. There is no dining table; it's more of a kitchen table. So the manner of the table has changed. So that was also a point that I wanted to add.
So now that we're on a discussion of how food is presented for the eye, or for photography, or for social media, one of the things which I realized for me was during the lockdown we had here last year, there was a sudden influx of Instagrammable things to make while you were under lockdown. So some of the really popular things, something called Dalgona coffee, which is essentially, I think, iced coffee with milk, then banana bread. And suddenly everyone was like an expert in home cooking. So that's what I thought that was a curious situation, because suddenly supermarkets were out of flour, they're out of sugar, it's out of stock. And then on the other hand, because of the pandemic, we realized that people who were perhaps living on a daily wage, because of the lockdown, they couldn't go to work. So you really see the disparity in there due to perhaps sudden unemployment. People may not have certain enough resources for their day-to-day living. And then on the other hand, you have the rise of good-looking foods. That's there because because it's fashionable, it's popular, it's a way of joining in the conversation. And I can understand that perhaps for some people it brings a sense of purpose, or how also food has the ability to create a sense of solidarity, because we're making all these things together. I didn't do any of that. I wish I did, but I didn't, because when I was living under the lockdown, I had a situation in which all my family members were stuck together with me. They couldn't leave the country. So I was living in a 3-bedroom apartment with my brother, my parents, my sister, and a husband, and a newborn baby. So that was quite a crazy situation. And then, but that was also the only time in my life where I ate so much food that was at home. Like what Yolanta was saying earlier, people were encouraged to eat at home and not eat out because all the restaurants were closed. We were eating food that my mom cooked every day. So at one point I felt very nourished, but at the other point I was a bit spoiled, and I thought, oh, when can I go eat at a restaurant again? And that was an interesting experience. And after that, I started binge eating at restaurants and going to Starbucks, which I would never before, And now, whenever I drink Starbucks coffee, it just reminds me of the pandemic under lockdown. So I don't think I'll be drinking Starbucks for a while. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting, because we have on the one hand, like people needing to go online for their lives during the pandemic over the last year and a half almost. Going online to connect, to work, to talk with family, to do whatever it is you need to do. And then on the other hand, people, I think it did in some ways encourage people. It definitely did for me and for people in my circle to slow down. So yeah, you had the whole sourdough bread movement, if you could call it that. Everybody started sourdough baking, especially around Berlin. I mean, for me, I've got a great bakery just around the corner, which was open in the pandemic. So I went to the bakery, but I had a lot of friends baking, and they were always like complaining about the flour being out. It was that, wasn't it? It was like flour and toilet paper, the two kind of things that you couldn't have available during the lockdown. Yeah, I had to do a couple of toilet paper exchanges actually, because with some people that had stocked up, because I missed out on the first round, and then I was for like almost 2 months without toilet paper. Speaking of food and laying the table, that's also the other end of it, isn't it? It's kind of like important. You need to attend to the bathroom, to the exiting, to the processing of the food, and of conversation, of digestion, and yeah, I don't know. I think like I have mixed feelings about all of that, but yeah, I don't know. I think there's some.
I think there is a connection issue with
Yeah.
Natalie, but maybe I can share something until she comes back. About maybe about
Sorry, I just went
Natalie.
away from that there. Sorry, but throw it back.
I was going to speak because you were disconnected, but if you want to continue, you can continue.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Speaking about the pandemic and our habits because of the lockdown, it is interesting to see the Zoom birthday parties and wedding Zoom where people started to celebrate it online because they cannot travel or they cannot see their grandparents or because of the corona. And it's interesting because people started to put an effort in the birthday party or in the party in general, like they're having to prepare the setting, the table, put decorations, bring a cake, dress well, and make it homemade. Is an experience of its own, but also it is missing the sharing of eating from the same cake, or because in the other side of the screen, maybe for example it was a birthday. If it is a birthday, your friend can have bring chocolate or bring a drink, but you are eating something else. So we are missing the idea of eating from the same food or tasting the same meal or putting the same effort on the food itself. I can buy a birthday cake and or prepare it homemade, while the other one on the other side don't feel like this. So he makes just grab a drink or something easy, for example. So the sharing, the online sharing is different, and I think it has its pros and cons at the same time.
Yeah, I actually sorry.
No, go
I've
ahead.
really short to say. I actually was pregnant through the pandemic and had a baby last year in October. And that was such a bizarre experience because I'm from Australia, but I was living in Berlin, and none of my family have still not met my baby nor seen. They never saw me pregnant really, like in real life, which is kind of such a strange feeling because you go through such a, for me it was such a transformation, growing a human, becoming two, becoming, being one, becoming two, and the experience of, just going through that process is so odd. And to have only shared that online, you kind of do miss the thing that I think you were talking about, Nurhan, like the viscerality, of being in the same place, of being present together. You can sort of create that to some extent online and think of creative ways to kind of like have a visceral experience where you get to absorb some kind of energy or something from other people through like creating a different kind of experience where you're like alone but together. But yeah, there is something that you miss about like the tangibleness of just being together in the same space, being able to touch, being able to sense, like what Yolanta was talking about before.
Yeah, it's still, I think it's very coming together and sharing a meal is still in a lot of ways, it's still not possible to do it like we used to do it before. Like maybe some circles and in some moments and places in time, we can do that. But whenever I experienced these moments of sharing a meal together in the past months, whenever it was possible with people who I was in this circle, then I started seeing new habits of us, like how we approach one another, and also how we feel maybe a little bit concerned, or we might ask for a second opinion if we should really share this plate together. I'm using the spoon to make the sauce. I licked it. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna put it away. Like I have like seen also when I was talking to my friends, like a very different way of seeing my own, maybe body fluids contaminating the food. So it has made us more aware, more maybe a little bit more fearful of bringing something at the table that we don't want to share, actually. So yeah, that's I'm really wondering how this will develop in the next times.
So I just want to say something about food sharing, and maybe perhaps more specifically a buffet line. So that seems to be something that is taken off the menu, literally. A buffet line is non-existent because of it being a high contact point. People will be surrounding trays of food for extended periods, different people, and I guess the fear is cross-contamination. So in Singapore, typically what happens if there is someone who's passed away, there is a wake. And then after the wake, there's the funeral. Typically, guests or family members would have a buffet line. And they've got very specific funeral sort of foods, curry chicken, rice, noodles, some other things. However, because of the pandemic, in general, the buffet line doesn't exist. And in the digital age, what has been replaced? And I know this because a friend's father passed away recently. The buffet line is typically part of the funeral package. The funeral package now has the buffet line removed, and now there is a Zoom live streaming that comes together with the funeral package. So perhaps 5 days of renting the wake, maybe at the void deck or the funeral parlor, and then live streaming sessions at the crematorium. That's something that was quite surprising to me. I didn't think that I didn't think that it would be possible, but it seems like that is the norm now. Not just for meetings like we're having now, but the end of life as well.
I think also with the live stream of weddings and funeral, there is this pressure of participating, because you feel that I want to participate because it will they will view who is participating, and if I didn't participate online, this means that I didn't attend the wedding or the funeral. So it's funny how the idea of participation became like visible name on the screen, and yeah.
Like the pressure to show up. You mean like you just have to be there, even if you are sort of not necessarily feeling being in a strange Zoom wedding. Yeah, that's interesting. I have only been to one Zoom like social event, and it was actually a social event for me hosted by my friends for my baby. Like, we called it a pop party instead of a baby shower. And we just played like a bunch of games and my friend organized there, and I was really like cringing at the idea of it. I was thinking like, oh no, I don't want to have a baby shower, I don't want to do a party, and I don't know, I wasn't keen. And then we ended up spending like 3 hours online together, and there ended up being around 30 people. We just organized it the day before, and we did a lot of really nice, beautiful things there together. And one of my favorite things that we did was a life drawing session. So I did some posing, and everybody drew pictures of me, and then they uploaded it to a site online, which I can keep the link of forever with all of their uploaded drawings of me. And that was like the most surprising thing about that, because it was, I guess, an opportunity for them to go slow and to eat me with their eyes, to draw me, to look at me, to go through the process of feeling me through their eyes, which is, I guess, what we were talking about a little bit before with like photographing food and preparing food so that it looks nice to eat. So I guess in a way we've moved a little bit more towards like, yeah, I guess there's some good and bad things about that, because maybe we don't want to eat things that don't look so good to us, but there are also some things that look pretty like ugly, or like at first sight, I don't know, maybe a bit more gelatinous or soft, or something that doesn't appeal necessarily to you, but they also taste really good. But yeah, what I really liked about that was I was so surprised at how connected I could feel with people. These are people that I know very well already, though. But yeah, how connected I could feel from this kind of party situation, which I was initially a bit apprehensive to try out. Yeah, so I think like it's a bit of you do miss out on like being close together and actually having bodily contact and everything. But like you were saying before, Alexandra, I think like also that interaction, that liveness has also changed, because the way that I approach people now is a bit more it's a bit more guarded. It's a bit more like there is a bit more fear there. It's a bit more like not sure if the person wants to hug or touch or get close, so you stand back a little bit more than we used to stand back. You go like, is it okay? You ask for permission, which I think is actually like a nice thing. Like, are you hugging? You ask for consent. I think that's actually like a pretty interesting thing that maybe has come out of this. Yeah, I don't know, some ideas.
Well, I just wanted to say that I think thank you for sharing the story with the drawings. That's a wonderful idea. I think that's something to take home. Yeah.
Just a pity of having time in silence, having you together. Maybe you'd like to share your today meal, how it looks like in your countries at your tables. That would be interesting if you want.
I'm happy to do that. I have a few different experiences for being at the table. At the moment, I'm in Brazil, and my partner's from here. So at my partner's mother's house, we sit at a dressed table. There's a placemat, there's a knife and a fork, and sometimes a spoon, and everything's quite formally laid out with the salad. Everything's all separated. So a salad is not mixed. A salad is just lettuce, leaves, and then separately chopped every like tomatoes, radish, everything's kind of all kept separate, and then you add it together on your plate how you like. And then there's also always some hot food, so some rice and beans, and I don't eat meat, but there's always like a chicken or fish. And you go to the stove and you put the food that you want onto your plate, and then you sit down all together and eat at the table. At my family home in Australia, although I haven't been there in quite a long time, almost 3 years now. We also do a similar situation where you kind of just help yourself to everything that's kind of been cooked, but we have salads where everything's all mixed in already. And at my table, where in Berlin, or like at my home table, I do a mix of like serving stuff up onto a plate and making it look really beautiful. Or also preparing food where there's options for people to kind of pick out of the table. And sometimes we eat on the kitchen table, and sometimes we eat on the floor. I only live in a very small apartment. It's 30 square meters. So there's just one room. So you could be eating on the bed, on the floor, on the table, or standing over the kitchen. That's it.
Okay, Norhan, you go first.
Okay, in Egypt, I usually, with my mother, I live with my mother, so we usually prepare either me who cooks or my mom cooks. But like the dinner table, we eat on the dining table, and the type of meal usually consists of meat, either red meat or chicken or fish, besides rice or pasta or vegetables. And usually we eat, both of us, on the dining table in front of the TV. So we always play something while eating and watching. We talk, maybe sometimes we speak together, but always our eyes on the TV while eating. and we eat. We don't take that so much time. Like we are fast eaters. It's something like we eat in 5 minutes, or like it doesn't take long time to eat. And so when I live alone, I'm now in Switzerland. I'm studying here, so usually I prepare the meal, and then I put the laptop on bed, and I eat on bed on the plate while watching Netflix and eating. Sometimes I eat with my flatmates. We gather if it happened by chance that we are both cooking at the same time. So sometimes we sit on the table and eat together. But most of the time, each one eat in the room, on the bed, while watching Netflix or something. It's a preference. I think it's a preference among many to watch Netflix rather than sitting together and eat. And I think we have to be honest about it.
So what I had in the morning was essentially a wrap with some leftover meat and some cheese, which I had just thrown into the air fryer. So nothing very special, but I just thought I'll share with you guys what I have on my desk right now. And because I'm sitting so much in front of the computer for Zoom, for meetings, for workshops, and I happen to have this. So it's Japanese biscuits, and the name is just simply called Tasty. And It is quite tasty. I don't think it's healthy. There is vegetable oil, palm oil, shortening. Sugar is the second ingredient. But I think I'm just going to open it and then share it with you guys from where I am. And just imagine that I'm offering it to you guys. So I'm just going to open it now. Okay, so you guys can just see what it looks like. So it's quite yummy.
Oh,
Yes.
it sticks.
Yes. It's quite fun to eat.
So yeah, as I said before, I've just missed the start of this dinner, this lunch I am having with my family. It's like a small family gathering here at my parents' place, where I'm visiting. So whenever I'm here, we just usually do a lot of cooking, and everything is a little bit more formal. We have a tablecloth, and everyone prepares his signature dish in a way, so we can all share it. And today I made something with chickpeas, which I haven't tried before, with some pieces of orange skin and some flowers that I found in the garden, some thyme, and what else? And the fried onions, of course. So I'm really looking forward to taste it. And otherwise, I try to really be at the table for my meals. Right now, I live with my partner, and he's really we share most of the meals together because he really likes, or I enjoy eating at some like regular hours. I haven't had that with other people that I've lived with, so that's also something that has made me think about, when do we eat? I'm quite a strict eater. I eat in the morning, I eat at lunch, and I eat in the evening, and I eat also in between, of course. But I have friends who don't like eating lunch at 1 p.m. or 12 p.m. They prefer having it at 3 p.m. or 5 p.m. whenever they're hungry. So I have never been that kind of person, but it's always interesting. Also, when you come together, you share time, or you spend some, holidays with friends or other people, to just adjust to these timings that we have with eating. It can be so different.
Yeah, I like that you talked about that, because for me it's I'm one of those more floaty eaters. Like, I kind of just eat when I'm hungry. I'm a snacker. I like to snack. I do like to sit around and have meals, and eating with friends is like really important for me, and having conversations with people and enjoying the food and tasting the food. But I do find that a lot of the times, like especially during the weekend through the pandemic, even though I've been cooking a lot at home, which I think I did a lot of before already, because I really enjoy cooking and preparing food. Especially, I love to feed people as well, to cook food for people. That I have started eating faster somehow. Like, I think it's also having a baby, actually, because sometimes she'll be asleep and then I'm like, okay, great, I can eat now, or like I can eat at 1 a.m. is my dinner time, because I didn't have a chance to do that before. It's a bit different now that she's older, but like at the start it was a bit like that. I was just like eating when I could, and like eating really quickly, like big amounts of food. So I think I need to try to enjoy a little bit more, to like slow that back down again and to come back to the table. But I think it's really a really nice practice to be able to kind of notice the habits and the different flows that we have around food and eating and everything, just as a way to be present with that experience, because it's something that's like so regular in our lives, right? Eating, being around food. Okay, so maybe just being aware of the time. It's just going on the hour right now, but I just wanted to see if anybody had any last comments, remarks, feelings, thoughts to say, and we can do a last round of that now. So pass the word out.
Maybe it's not connected to the subject straightforward, but I would end up once I experienced old people very, very far away in the country which doesn't exist anymore, Karabakh, which was Armenian up till half a year ago, now it's Azerbaijan. Anyway, high in mountains, and these old ladies, they told me, I was eating their food and it tasted so different, this beetroot. And I was asking why it tastes so different than beetroot in Poland. And they were saying that they don't use fertilizers at all. They have it grown as it is for ages before. And then someone told them, if you put this fertilizer, you have 3-4 times more this beetroots than you have, and you can sell it. And these old ladies, they were saying, we will not poison the mother of earth. That was something very touching.
Maybe I can connect to that. I'm at the moment working on a farm where we grow vegetables. I'm just there for like a very small kind of internship once a week. So it's just I just get a glimpse of the whole thing, I would say. But then when we were working, weeding the field, we realized that we were talking about, when to harvest and how long does the plant stay in the field actually. And we realized that it's very different. We have like some vegetables we eat when they are very young, so and others they stay for months in the soil, and they have much more time to develop on one side, but also they are much more fragile, or you need to take much longer time to consider the care and the watering and whatever energy you need to put into it. So, but also just the notion of eating a young plant versus an old plant or a grown-up plant, or just the head of the plant, or is it the roots of the plant? So, made me think of plants more as a body, also an aging body, which was totally new for me in that moment. And I don't know what to do with this realization, but maybe it will, just bring another notion to the table as well.
Thank you for that beautiful image. I will, I think we could probably wrap up the dialogue now if everybody feels good about that. And I would like to close with a sound. So we'll just do another, let's do another embodiment experience and sounding experience together to close the dialogue. So just sitting comfortably in your chair, close your eyes down, and just take in the experience of this dialogue. Feel it in your body, feel it in your organs, feel it as something that we can hold onto and digest over the coming days, weeks, months. And just to show appreciation for that, we'll take a big breath in, and on the exhale, make a sound that feels right for that. So here we go, inhaling, exhaling. Blinking the eyes open. Thank you so much, everybody, for your presence and for your perspectives.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful lunch, Alexandra.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you all. Bye.
Ciao.
Nice to meet everybody.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.